At one point, like almost every other artist of the generation, Roy Lichtenstein was an abstract expressionist. But even then he was a little different, and looking at the work Variation number 7, it really shocks me at how early Lichtenstein was Lichtenstein. The work shows definitive influence from the work of Hans Hofmann. There is an extremely structured feeling to this, and this is in the late 1950s. You can see small bands of color, blues and greens and yellows, but none of them are, I guess, structurally sound. Hoffman's boxes, my favorite of his works, very much called this to mind. But then there is this sort of 3 bands of sort of scribbly color. Thin, fast, action painty, of course. And then there are more solid fields of color. The overall impression is more or less of a triptych. Color field to the left. Structural abstract expressionist in the mode of Hofmann in the center. Action painting on the far right. But taken as a whole, it seems to be saying that this was what the 50s was in art. This work, more than any other I have seen from any abstract expressionist, 100% calls to mind the later work of Jean-Michel Basquiat. This was relatively obscure work up until probably the early 2000s. The work of Lichtenstein with pop culture imagery so permeates the popular culture that his abstract expressionist work is nearly ignored. But here it kind of also shows why. Because ultimately this work is making a commentary on a decade of abstract expressionist in the zeitgeist. He is taking elements from an existing field and placing them inside his own context. That makes it a marvelous piece, and one that definitely fits in with his later comic works.